Okay, so we know that decorating ourselves with fancy clothes, jewelry, and makeup is a very human thing. But given that most of those things are made of non-durable materials like silk or gold, we don't often get to see what early humans wore. So we don't exactly have a record of the first fashions. But archaeologists have uncovered some pretty intriguing clues. So let's dig into the prehistoric past and find out how our ancestors made their style statements. Because it turns out humanity's first fashion was a lot more meaningful than just looking good. Before we get into it, I want to thank our incredible community. You guys make it possible for us to make these videos. So thanks for that. And now on to the meaning of fashion. In order to understand the origins of fashion, we need to go back to before there were fabrics, even before there was agriculture, because fashion is an undeniably human behavior, and humans are pretty much everywhere. But our hunter-gatherer ancestors didn't just adorn themselves wherever they went. For instance, in Blombos Cave in South Africa, archaeologists found some of the earliest evidence of body decoration. They discovered that at least some members of the group that lived there 70,000 years ago ground up ochre, a naturally occurring pigment that comes in different colors from the earth, and mixed it with water. Then they used it to paint lines on their bodies, especially on their faces. They may have used the paint to cover themselves in camouflage patterns to hide while hunting or to mark territory. But it probably had other uses too. Another group of hunter-gatherers living in Europe around 40,000 years ago kept things a bit simpler. Instead of mixing paint, they ground up various colored rocks and left handprints all over the walls of caves. These are some of the earliest known pieces of cave art. This may not seem like a big deal, but humans are literally the only animals that make art for no other reason than pure aesthetics, and that's a clue that adorning your body with decorations isn't just about function. It's also about communicating something to others, and by extension, it's also a way of communicating something to yourself. And in the case of those handprints, it seems to have been a way to communicate group identity. See, throughout history, certain markings indicated that you belonged to a particular group of people, which was useful, because it helped you find allies and avoid potential conflicts with rival groups. And sometimes these symbols were more than just marks, they were full-on outfits. Like a little more than 10,000 years ago, people in what is now Japan were burying their dead with ceremonial outfits made of dog fur and necklaces made of teeth. Archaeologists think these grave goods may have been symbolic, representing clothing the deceased would wear in the afterlife. While that may seem weird to us, anthropologist Johannes Wilke told us that for hunter-gatherers, personal adornment wasn't just a way to communicate with the living, it was also a way to communicate with the dead. Basically, it's a way to ensure the dead are properly respected and cared for, and that respect can also translate into admiration of the living. After all, hunter-gatherers typically only spent time with other members of their own group, and within a group, individuals can use adornments to attract mates. Anthropologist Marjorie Ceratops says that among the Himba people of Namibia, men who decorate their bodies with scarification patterns or colorful clothes are considered more attractive and more marriageable. So body decoration is a way to signal qualities like bravery or strength and thus increase your value to potential partners. And none of this is surprising if you've ever noticed how much thought goes into accessorizing for a first date. So our ancestors used adornment to communicate group membership, respect, and romantic prospects. But they also used them to communicate literally anything else they wanted to. In other words, they used them to communicate identity. And we still do the exact same thing today. We just have a lot more options. A t-shirt with a band logo on it tells people you share identity with a group of musicians. A rainbow pride pin tells people you identify as part of the LGBTQ community. Sneakers tell people that you're down to kick it, or maybe you're a sneakerhead. The point is, the way we present ourselves visually to the outside world is directly related to how we understand ourselves. And though we may have evolved beyond cave paintings and bead necklaces, our desire to communicate that identity hasn't changed much at all. Humans have always decorated themselves, not just because we have to, but because we want to. So yeah, fashion may not be the first thing you thought of when thinking about human evolution, but as this whole video hopefully showed you, it can tell us a ton about what it means to be human, both in the distant past and right now. Thanks for watching this episode. And remember, if you like our content, you can get more of it by subscribing to our channel.